Yo, yo, testing, testing. I got a weird hum in my headphone. I don't know if that's actually just in my headphones or if it's actually coming over in the audio. Let me see if I can improve the signal to noise ratio. Test, 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 test. Get that peak set up a little bit higher. I think if I go in here in the advanced audio properties and boost that up, it's probably going to be a good thing for me to do. Let's go up to, we'll boost it up like 8 dB. Test, 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 test. Howdy, folks. Double cheers. Peace, love, and a basket full of kind. It's a great grand rising. Yeah, I get up about 4 o'clock. I usually don't just go straight onto a stream or something, but today I was just like, fuck it, I'm going to start my tea and jump right in. You know, it's interesting. I haven't felt like talking to the YouTube for a long time, and I think I had to go through some introspection, go within to have something to bring back. But there's just some natural conclusions that I've come to over the course of my observations and just being a people watcher and being aware of the human experiment that we're all being subject to or involved in at whatever level we want to acknowledge it. Because, plenty of people have figured it out that they're being poked and prodded and have things they need to avoid with their food, and they need to take care of their mental health, their diet, their spiritual, physical, mental, all that. It's all coming into play, right? I mean, it's all being under attack at multiple levels. So it's like if you don't take accountability for it, it's going to own you. Part of how I like to do that is just own my day, own my time, really maximize, be efficient with as much of the space that God gives me. And I think something that's really important for men, especially now, in this time, is there needs to be a significant amount of solitude and introspection, time with God, so to speak. Because you have to be able to dig deep to have that real authentic inspiration and vision, so that you've got something to bring to the table. Because I hear so many men talk about how they don't have any direction, or they're, I have people personally in my life that have that kind of narrative where they don't know what to live for because their whole dream of having a family and kids and all that stuff never happened. They couldn't find a worthy mate or someone that, they wanted to put their seed in. There's a lot of men actually in that position that are in their early 30s, mid 30s. I mean, men that objectively you would look at and go, that person should not have that much difficulty tying something down to make it work. Now, maybe their criteria or their expectations are too high or something. I don't know. It's like I don't know some of these people that well, but I mean, I got a buddy in particular. He's 33 with an amazing business, obviously very successful, great shape, has all the boxes checked. And he'll date these women. They're beautiful, but at the same time, they don't want to have kids. They don't want to. They've got careers. They're boss babes. They're running off, chasing all this trophies and validation of society and involved in the social networking and all that. They're taking pictures while they're having dinner. My Lord. I saw this guy today. I was having a burger and he's sitting there. And just seemed like a nice, wholesome family man. Obviously loved his kids, just sitting down to have some family time. And his wife the whole time, I swear, just taking pictures, Insta-scamming it. I couldn't believe it, just how blatant she's doing that in front of her husband, and the husband looks so like emasculated and just beat down. You just tell it's like he's just holding on by a thread. And I hate to laugh because I know it's this brutal shit. This is like, but this is the modern American family now, you know. It's like, and so, what does the man offer in a world, right, where they supposedly took away the need for our provision, for our protection, right? We got the state. It's going to cover all the bases for anything she or the, leverage system now can't, that's designed to basically break up the family. And so men struggle with that at whatever level, right? Just to provide, I think, a kernel of perspective that I think helps if you're willing to do the work, is like, if you ever feel that way with any woman, that there's not respect there, that she doesn't value what you're bringing to the table or doesn't see it, you can't negotiate that. You just have to, that's where you pull back and you just say, all right, I've done what I can, you know. And beyond that, if you can't do that, then you're not grounded anyway. And so the truth of the matter is, the man brings the peace to the family, to the relationship. If he's not doing that, he's actually not bringing that centered, calm type of energy that will allow a family or relationships to flourish anyway. Because, right, a man is essentially capable of being a fucking vile beast of murder if necessary, right? I mean, he can create mass destruction with his hands even, if he's motivated enough to do so. But at the same time, right, the thing that instills confidence as a leader is having control of those energies and being able to distribute it appropriately. And so the best thing for the man at this time, whether he's in a family, trying to lead a family, he's, trying to be in a position to like create that or have some kind of potential, I think, to do anything that's relevant to his own self-respect, is he's going to have to spend enough time alone to where he finds his peace within himself. And that's very tangible, and it shouldn't be that difficult to conceive of that. I think people who are in a great state of chaos, I've experienced it plenty of times where I've talked to people that are just all out of sorts, but they will recognize they have peace in them. They can see a space of stillness. It's just a matter of how much do they want to marinate on that. Will they actually find that center in themselves and realize, unfortunately, that's not what the other half offers, right? The other half offers emotions and chaos. So if you're not centered and you don't have peace to offer, it doesn't matter which way things go, whether something works out, something doesn't work out. You're never what you need to be anyway. You never really had self-respect because you're letting yourself down anyway, because it's the basic premise of being a man is you're practical, you're pragmatic, you're calculated, you're strategic, you're long game strategy. You're not at the whim of just some emotion, right? So it's a much more precise, refined process for a man. It should be anyway. And he should have a peace about that because he's confident when he makes a decision, whether it's in business, it's in finances, it's in relationships, it's with how he raises his kids, any of these things. He doesn't take it lightly. And if that's not respected, there should be a peace about that. Because essentially, if that man is rooted in a knowingness, authenticity with his relationship with the Creator, so he knows his stewardship role, he knows that that oversight is to be done with a level of diligence, then he should have a peace about that. But that peace, if it's real, will transcend any of these relationships, any of these, whether it's difficulty with a boss, whatever. None of these people essentially should have the power to take your peace. But we live in a society where we're convinced all day it's like our identity is so tied to some authority figure's ability to tell you what you are and who you are, or if you're validated or not, if you can keep the paycheck, if you can even exist in society now. We're all being lulled into this credit score type of system where, it's not an honest, transparent, fair, and equitable system. It's another one of these pseudo modern age blackmail type of scenarios where it's stuff you would have thought up in an Orwellian nightmare, right? Stuff you would have said it's only going to happen in maybe a communist country or something. But the masses have woke up to everything that's going on. You'll be walking through Walmart and some guy will be, he's talking about Nimrod and Sumerian texts and showing you, all this shit about who really funded it and where our money really goes and the connections with Israel and all that shit that we weren't allowed to talk about for eons, but now all of a sudden everybody's talking about it, I guess. None of this is going to help our mental state, right? It's not going to have any effect on calming your inner space. So I think a lot of just tuning any of that out, the poly tricks. I used to get triggered. I'd get, dragged into these conversations. I got plenty of friends that have strong opinions on it. I've calmly stated my position. People don't really want to have honest communication about it. They're just in a gang mentality. It's completely a worthless effort to try to negotiate reason with unreasonable people. They've checked out. They don't have critical thought anymore. I was sitting at a table this morning at breakfast while a Democrat and a Republican argued with each other, and I just chuckled and laughed. They couldn't figure out what I was laughing about. I said I was laughing at something I saw on the TV, because there was something funny on the TV there. Anyway, this Trump character's pretty funny, but Jesus criminy, the just because you have a certain perspective on things, you can't expect other people to have it or see it that way. You can only be thankful if you've got something that you see as valuable because you discern it as valuable. You're never going to make the world happy. You're never going to please any of these people. Even the ones you like, even your friends, even your family, they're never going to be okay with your positions. Especially if it's a liberated mind that's got an independent mindset. You're not playing that game in a way where you're identified with it. You're holding on to your peace. My peace is not to be attached and have my identity connected to corruption. You can say, well, you can't absolve yourself of that, whatever, because this is the kind of guilt bullshit they try to get you in with these contracts that are null and void anyway. From the point that you come in that somehow you're culpable and liable for a bunch of debt and Ponzi schemes that you had no knowledge of, that you were just born into. Like that's a legal, lawful process or should be taken legitimately on any level. No, that's all to steal your peace. So, I think a lot of our peace is tied to the identity. And a lot of it comes down to stripping the lies down and getting rid of all that and looking at what you really are, what you really stand for, what authentically drives you to be inspired and want to actually communicate a real message. Not just repeat and regurgitate and go in loops on shit that's been fed to you from a system that, of course, doesn't solve any problems. It just creates more of them and piles on top of the next and the next and the next, and keeps you chasing some idea that we're going to solve something with the same insanity that keeps creating that same problem. There's no peace in that. Any man can think of a better way to go about our business from a governmental standpoint, or that's logical and honest and has integrity at any level. You don't make some ultra complex system with a bunch of loopholes that nobody can understand, that has to get experts that are corrupt to do corrupt things to keep the corrupt system moving along. It's absurd. There's no peace in that. And then we're supposed to focus on we're going to fix it, and it's, I think a man does better just to keep his solitude. That's what I found. They're not going to give me anything that's going to help me have joy and happiness and live a better life. Right? So you start going down the list, and modern medicine, how many times did that fuck me before I had to learn and realize that for me personally, I found a much better healing process through herbs, natural medicines, fasting, being considerate of what I consume, and just looking how energy affects me and how I can hold a space that is more optimum for health, that will allow health to flourish. Because, if we're defeating ourselves in our mind, we don't even give ourselves the opportunity to find that. There's no doctor helping us with these type of concepts, right? Even if it's a psychological issue, how many people go to therapy these days to have some titled expert that oddly has a name that coincides with the rapist? But that's a whole nother consideration. Yeah, the therapist, right? And you run in so they can help you process wounds and traumas from your childhood or something, or stumbling blocks that are holding you back from just being a productive human being, or being able to communicate. But, how does that healing process go? It goes like a validation, and then they prescribe you a drug, right? That's such a crime to treat people that way, and then just to get them in some idea that anytime they have a problem that they could take a pill or something and that would solve it. No actual accountability. It's just put it off into a system designed to extract all your resources and give you nothing. Seemingly so. Give you the opposite of what you were looking for. Many cases causing more health issues and just a roller coaster of the problems you're going to have to contend with. There's no peace in that. In my experience, there's peace in the herbs. There's peace in nature. There's healing there. It's actually real and authentic. It leads to a good end result that has a definitive type of transition where you move out of the healing mode into vibrant living and excited, motivated, inspired space. Because I'll tell you right now, anyone who's fasted has their testimony. They understand that clean feeling you get when the system optimizes and it has a chance to just get all the sludge and move all this crap out of the way so your brain can think. And you're just in this entirely different space where you're so creative, you're so inspired, you're so excited. You can pop out of bed at 4 a.m. You don't need as much sleep. You don't need as much food. You're just thriving. They don't want you to have that peace. You know, that's not serving this system. If you get up, take a cold shower, go for a brisk jog, get that fresh air in your lungs, eat real clean, minimalist style meals where your body's not having to just go into overload, overdrive, just trying to process a bunch of shit. Of course you're going to be more refined. You're going to be a better version of yourself. Of course you're going to be more inspired. And you're going to enjoy life more. You're literally going to have a happier experience with that one basic discipline of monitoring your food intake and getting some kind of healthy level of exercise. But I think the greater byproduct of that shit, especially if you've got a exercise discipline, is the mental space that you get to deal with. Like for me, I'll take a jog and it's on an uphill incline, so it gets my heart going. I got a nice mountain that I climb up. I try to do it every day. The thing that is so fun for me, and I look forward to it now, and it's not even like it's a jog for me, because of course there was a point where I'd really struggle to get up the hill and I'd breathe so hard, and boy, when I'd get to the top, I'd just get this endorphin rush, and you know, one of the most amazing things is when I get to the top of this hill. This is right where I live, so I'm so blessed, you know. I got it. And not a be less way, but a be more way, right? I mean, I'm fucking over the top, astoundingly fortunate, because I get to the top of this hill and then I just get the most picturesque, beautiful view of a meadow valley with, you know, gigantic mountains in the background, and that used to be the prize, right? Is I would tell myself in my head, boy, when you get to the top, you get to see this beautiful view and you get to relax and take that in. And sometimes I'll sit down and go into kind of a meditative space and just sit there in stillness and just soak it all in. Like, let God feed me. Let God fill me up, you know. 'Cause God is great and just will give you whatever you would want in that moment, right? 'Cause you're there in that space to receive. And it's blissful. You know, I think the exercise really helps bring you to that space. But now it's not about getting to the top of the hill for me. Now it's the mental exercise of where does my mind go when I get into the pace. You know, as I start to create that rhythmic, routine, autonomic kind of space where you're just doing this process and you can really watch the mind. And that to me is like how I set my day now, right? That's where I get everything in order of this is what I'm going to accomplish. This is how I'm going to go about my interactions. This is what I'm manifesting. This is what I am. A lot of I am affirmations. It's fucking great. It's empowering. Such an awesome space to be in. So much cause and effect that I see within relationships and just how people are responding to what I'm doing and to my energy and what I'm trying to accomplish. And simple discipline, but just, something that to me is wildly impactful for men at this time who are lacking direction or trying to find some kind of, and this is a thing where in this victim mindset, you try to offer people some pearls of wisdom, and then they start to go into their whole victim thing about why their situation's so much worse than yours, and you couldn't understand, you hadn't walked in their shoes. Then they want you to argue with them. They want you to qualify yourself that you've lived a terrible life. So they want you to go through and be like, yeah, dude, I was, having some goofy lady try to give me speed or methamphetamines when I was a kid too, weird shit, right? Like, I was in a weird, fucked up little town with fucked up people that were, doing all kinds of strange things. I don't know what to tell you. We all got our wounds and traumas and shit going on from a fucked up, perverted system in childhood at some level. And maybe yours was way worse than mine. I don't know. It's like, I don't identify with that, even though I had these experiences. That's not who I am. So when they want me to go back and then go through it all as if like I'm stuck in this space, I'm going to take a time machine back and relive something to try to validate or give myself credibility that, my life too has sucked so bad, and let's grovel in that. And this is precisely the problem. So I can't do it, because it's like, you really don't want to take accountability for what you say you are and want. You want to take accountability for what you were and still are and will always be, because you're never willing to move on from that. And then that becomes your stumbling block. You use it as your excuse to not do anything substantial or be better or whatever it is. That becomes your lame excuse. Something that happened eons ago is just going to cripple you from being productive or moving forward or having any inspiration or excitement about life. Which, that's another thing I'll keep touching on if I continue to do this communication, is how much they've convinced people that, like, you're lame or, should pipe her down if you're excited or inspired. I mean, remember like the Richard Simmons characters and how we used to have it's just fucking nutcases, right? Some of these exercise people were the great examples, right? I mean, just absolute cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, but they were so extreme. It's almost like it's a society where to not give a fuck, and I think a lot of that is because people see the corruption of the system. They see that, it's hard to build on something that is inherently evil. It's kind of fucked up, at least even if you were deluded and believed it was fair and equitable at some point, it was easier to want to build into that because you had some kind of faith in the system at whatever level. Oh, there it is. Yeah, I'm going to grab some water. But yeah, if you're listening to this and you're struggling at any level with anything as far as a mental hang-up and you're having trouble moving forward, I would say it's 100% likely that if you looked at the narrative that you're repeating and the thing that you've committed to for your identity is probably your stumbling block. as a man. And you would bet you'd be better just to marinate in your peace as a man and just let it all slide, let it all flow. There's nothing, to do in that moment or to hang on to, because it's all fucking corrupt. It's all poison. And build from there, because at least it's an honest foundation. It's like, throw it all out. None of it, you know nothing. Go to the know nothing space and create the narrative. And this shit will change your life. From my perspective, I mean, people have all different ideas on what success is and what actual happiness is and joy is. I don't really give a fuck. I have to define that. All I know is that what we're going to focus on and what we commit to, it's not just that you're going to attract that. You are that. You're constantly developing into that, whether you acknowledge it or not. That's the main life hack that you got to own and step into the driver's seat and have fun with it. Be excited about it, because that's the most fucking incredible epiphany that a man could have. If you really get that shit and you realize how much the game changes when you understand that perspective and that you are in complete control of a cause and effect that they wanted to delude you into thinking was something other than it is. So you would give that up and you'd actually buy into the idea that the projection, the lies to your vision that was being placed into you, that was then being cycled out of you, was something that you couldn't circumvent. But the power was with you all along. It was just a level of consciousness. Right? So everybody came into this power now. Everybody read the Eckhart Tolle and had these, I guess, unfolding of consciousness, enlightenment type of experiences within the spiritual community. But what did that really lead to if it was just sitting in the lotus position in a thoughtless state? It's a great place to start. But being really particular about the narrative that you're holding on to and having that as a mantra is so valuable, because then as the pollution comes, or even your own just weak-minded type of thinking patterns that you can't even really put onto a corrupt system or education or lack thereof or whatever, it's really just your own failures of your lack ability to take accountability. And then it's, you let that go. You let that all just flush it. Let it wash away. And you create a narrative that's something that has peace attached to it. That when you say it, it's like, that is what you are. That is not something that you have to put off into a space that you don't even know if you could ever attain it. The things that provide peace, and this is so fucking ridiculous, but peace is available now. It is available now, because peace is available, brothers and sisters. Because if it wasn't available now, it never was available, right? It's only available now. And it's actually available without any strings attached. It's just, you can receive that through your own commitment to that identity of being peace, being happiness, being joy, and attracting those type of scenarios that allow that to unfold and allow that to be expressed in the most beautiful, authentic way possible for your experience and others that are with you on this journey. And so it's an absurd concept. And then some people say that, and you're just like, yeah, motherfucker, you know, because it is that simple at the core level. We just want to make it so difficult because all we've been taught through this type of control mechanism of the education system, and even though they didn't teach you how to be successful within it, so to speak, within their metrics, they still gave you this ideology that you somehow had to just work and sweat and toil and just run on that hamster wheel. You know, just chasing this, I call it the bitter carrot, or the, you know, the lie at the end of the rainbow. It's that whole corporate white picket fence fucking bullshit storyline they told you that's just built on shifting sands. As you build it, the foundation's being torn out from under you. Let me grab some water. That ain't where peace is. But there's all these self-help gurus, all these people out here want to sell you a course, want to get you into their hustlers club. They got their little communities, which I'm not saying is a negative. I mean, that's good if people come together and communicate, whether in public or private. We need more real, authentic interaction as humans. I think it's valuable, especially if you can get past the overlay of the toxic panel tard type of virus, mental virus that was installed, where it's turned everything into obfuscation through drama and quote entertainment or whatever, so that then nothing can ever be a genuine conversation. And you know, to get the ball rolling, it's like there's a couple people on YouTube right now that I know I could call out and get some drama going with, and they want it. They're like, dude, and not inauthentic either. They just, you know, they're looking for dialogue, and they have different opinions and want to do this jab thing. I say, I understand people get it. It's just fake to me. I don't care. I just don't care. But I understand people can build an audience that way, and that's whatever, you know. Have fun with that. And then maybe that's where I'm short-sighted, but I don't believe I have to do anything that way. You know, if I have a message and it's meant to reach somebody, it's going to reach them. It's for the few anyway. This is not a message for the masses. This is not a wide path message. You know, if you actually hear my words, you should consider yourself very fortunate, because either you know this information and it's just a confirmation and it's just once again helping propel you in a synchronicity of, you know, collective souls here recounting their observation of testimony through this experience, that this is how it works actually. This is the truth. This is the way, the truth, and the life that the Christ spoke about. It's the identity. It's what the Christ was saying the whole time. He's connected to Source, to the Father, to the Creator. That is his identity. Everything the Creator is, he is. And there's no separation in that. And with that, he's got this perspective and he's giving it to you. That was John in a nutshell. It's available to you. You can have it. The same thing that he has, he wants you to have. And by the way, then he's also commanding you got to go forth and do greater things. So how the fuck are you going to do greater things if you don't have the perspective of the man who was doing the great things that you acknowledged from the time that he spoke those words? And now you're supposed to do greater. You're supposed to go forth and build on that. You know, if there's any truth to the words, and then man wants to come along and limit all that for you and say, well, that's not really the dogma doctrine we subscribe to here. We got a much more limited view. on what Christ means for you. And we're going to put him on a pedestal as a plastic character of sorts with a fake name and a fake image and have you worship him and never get to the meat of how he was trying to liberate your slave mind into being a free soul. But it was all about internal narrative. It was all about a people that were committed to enslavement. They couldn't see any other way. Their carnal ordinances, their laws of decree, it was such a rigid type of discipline, and it was so judgmental and denigrating in nature that it was to a point where people couldn't pick up a feather right on the Sabbath or whatever, and they're tearing each other apart because they're all fake holy and playing holier than thou and dressing to be some kind of holy figure that, you know, has to do obscene praying for hours on end in public to try to be perceived as some kind of special godly person. And it's all fake. To me, that's the obvious conclusion of that message, and it coincides with this whole identity type of conundrum that's been installed in you since birth that's counterproductive. It's working against your goals and interests. It's stealing your peace. It's taking your productivity away, and it's rooting you into a corrupt system where to get validation from that is to ultimately corrupt you in the process. Here, let me go through a few of these comments. I'll grab a handful here that stick out. Oh, nice. Some people I haven't seen in here for a long time. That's you. Let's see here. No, I didn't listen to Gorilla Gems. So if we were saying anything similar, that's just synchronicity, because I've not heard. His channel literally will not be recommended. I have to go there. I've unsubscribed. I've resubscribed. I don't know if I have to Gorilla Gems. Maybe that's one I have to subscribe to, but no, I haven't heard anything. Yes, I'm fed up too. Cuz, hope y'all left a like. Let's see here. You fibbed to avoid confrontation. About the TV? Yeah, probably. That was probably a failure. Thanks for calling me out on that, Verily. Really appreciate you being there to hold me accountable on my obfuscation from truth to avoid confrontation from a bunch of goons. But I wasn't lying, because what was on the TV was fucking hilarious. You had some fucking goon up there that represents these people. So, I mean, it wasn't really inauthentic. I don't know. I think you're reading too much into it. I just don't care to be involved in that communication, because these people are all jabbed up and they legitimately don't want to hear anything you have to say. And if I discern that, there is a casting pearls before swine type of judgment there, where I just say my time is better spent. You know, there are people who could receive a message that would actually take that and do something with it. Whereas these people, they don't actually want to have any resolution. They don't want to have any solution. They just want to argue. I'm not looking for that. I've done plenty of that. It's pointless. Why would you want confrontation if you already know that the outcome would be worse than just staying on track? It's like the technological system pushes each other and every one of us to obey. Yeah, I agree. Healing is number one. You tell me is ready to start his day with his favorite vice and begin the cycle of misery and dedication to being in a state of apathy. No, I'm just kidding. You're all right, you tell me. My top priority is staying healthy, says USA. Yeah, you've always kind of been wired that way, huh, Rick? I've always seen that about you. You like to go run on the beach, and you get what I'm saying, man. I'm sure you get a lot out of that. Very valuable for your peace of mind and just your internal space. Yeah, you tell me. It's a little graphic. Get a coffee enema going or something, bub, and don't tell me about it. Thank me in the spiritual, not in the, it's the last we need to speak of it. Terrible thought. Vitamin D, sunlight is essential for all of us. Yeah, exactly. You know how many people, I would surmise, suffer from health issues that if they just went outside and moved a little bit and got fresh air and got some vitamin D on their skin, I bet things would start going in a better direction. I mean, just that, and that's actually doing something, of course, right? So it does require physical effort, but I think so many people just lack sunlight, and it just manifests into so many different physical ailments. All these ideas of fibromyalgia or whatever. I mean, these are just opinions, right? They don't matter anything. But I just know in my own life, I'll go through winter, and usually every winter coming into spring, I'm aching and creaking and, more inflamed than normal, and I just feel that kind of unease, anxiety. And boy, as soon as the weather gets a little warmer and you start to get those nice spring days, I just get right out and get sun, take my shirt off. I'll be in the middle of the city and just take my shirt off. I'm that weirdo. And I'm not the only one. I see others like me. People who are in the know will just take their shirt off and start getting some rays. And especially at the key times of day. First thing early in the grand rising, all the way to about 12 o'clock, or then, later in the day as things are starting to set. Really get good rays on your body and just charges you up. You feel great. Boosts your immune system. And, if you haven't had a lot of sun because you are a troll living in a hovel staring at a black box all day, a black magic box, that has committed your whole life to some kind of online nightmare, you could open the door and go outside and try something different and see if that might shift the sands of your reality a little bit. And God forbid you got some sun. If you do that, you might not want to oversaturate yourself and bring yourself into it too quick, lest you become a lobster child and blister yourself red. But you ease yourself into it, and it's like all of a sudden 2 weeks pass, and depression passed, and you're feeling stronger than ever. You're motivated. You're inspired again. You're thinking, God damn, maybe I'm not a robot. Maybe I'm not a cyborg. Maybe I could, stand on my own 2 feet with the solutions that I need moving forward to live a better life. Maybe my habits do have something to do with it. I don't know, you tell me. I think oregano oil is great. It's just good for the body is what I think. I think it helps on a multitude of levels. I think it's anti-parasitic. I like oregano oil a lot. I think it's good stuff. I haven't taken any for a little bit, but I go through little episodes where I'll take it. Not any physical ailment necessary either. I'll just take it because I think it is just strengthening to the body. It's more than just like a natural antibiotic. It's, and then there's the black seed oil, the cumin, and fennel seed. And a lot of people will combine these and they get a lot of benefits for their hair and nails, and it's good shit. First step would be to let all the surplus of food and energy be digested. So fast first. So we're giving, you tell me, non-medical advice. Because, I don't know, we can't really trust that you tell me is going to operate safely. You might need a handler for your fast, you tell me. You will feel a certain energy that seems to be taking stuff that don't belong when you fast. You've never fasted before, you tell me? I mean, really, you've never experimented with that? I'm going to shame you now out of even considering doing it. Nah, you're good, you tell me. I'm going to be honest. Okay, thank you, you tell me. That's what I need. Honesty. Let's hear it. The people here in this community really helped me get through some tough stuff over the past few years. I'm really grateful for you guys. Wow. See, there you go. All things work for good. Yeah, you do. Okay. What else we got in here? There's so much goodness that is getting wasted in this world. That's what makes me really sick. And yeah, it keeps pushing me to do better. What the actual fuck is all it about, though? Is anybody listening? It's all impermanence. It's all shifting sands. It's all stuff that we're not supposed to take seriously in the way that the world has convinced you to take it seriously, because you're not supposed to build your treasures in the illusion of form. So it's all ether projecting something that looks real as a process to teach you about self, the true aspect of what you are. And so that's the process of taking accountability. And it gives you an opportunity to work with these energies and work with this realm in a way where, there's a certain level of detachment and independence, and your collective contribution is not seemingly so impactful or influential that you're able to destroy everything. So I guess you're given certain, but even that I think is within your own limitations and lack of ability to see the greater potential. Because or Christ was lying, right? Because he said you're going to move mountains with your faith. What the fuck did so? What it was a analogy. It was proverbial. It was or this dude knew mountains could be moved with the faith. It was actually that strong, and that if he focused on something with intention long enough in a good, right, and true space, that it would actually come to pass. That's how powerful his faith was. I mean, it's left up to your own interpretation. If you want to limit yourself in it, great. But even with that, because someone's going to say, all right, if you can shape and carve reality, or you can have so much impact, then make yourself 6'3", make yourself 6'4", make your dick 2 inches longer. Come on there, manifestation boy. Let's see you manifest a bigger brain there, dummy. And it's never actually experientially that way anyway, right? It's like what you commit to, things are always being pulled into that direction. Those things are always being attracted to you. And the identity you choose is the space you live in, right? I mean, you actually have the power to take something about yourself that's an insecurity or a limitation and then anchor that as an area of confidence and something that you build off, as long as you're being authentic about it, right? You could say, I'm short, I'm 5'1" or whatever. And that's always been like your stumbling block of why you couldn't talk to women, or you couldn't create the relationships, or you didn't feel you got the job. You felt people judged you. I've known people like that. I used to have this drummer in my band, Dougie Fresh, and he wouldn't be upset for me, talking about that, because that was part of his journey. It's just like, for the longest time, he just felt like he didn't deserve a decent woman, a decent life. Like, he was just too short. And he really had to work past that wound and trauma to come to a space where he loved himself enough to give himself permission to attract a beautiful woman. And when he did, dude, he got a woman that was like a foot taller than him, super hot. I mean, for his look, right? All things are relative. For his sexual marketplace value, he did good. Like, he went in, he stopped being the insecure pussy that actually shouldn't be, because he was a drummer in multiple bands and chicks. He was, short, but a cool dude and a fun person to be around, and just a great human being, So he stopped letting that define him and stopped letting that be his limitation. And he just started leaning into that and making fun of it, and same way that the Tyler Fisher does, I guess. And then that becomes like an electric part of your identity that's actually, you've transmutated it into something that people find really endearing about you. It's something that the negative connotation's pretty much gone. You've done your work. You've transmutated it. You've performed your magic on it. Love, man. Uh-oh. I missed some comments here. Where do I get my water from, mate? Sometimes I'll go to a spring in the area, but a lot of times I do distilled water, and I'll add minerals, or I'll do reverse osmosis. The shadow ban is real. J-Word says, be good. It's more fun than being bad. All right. I think that's fair. Grand Rising, Country Gravy. The gravy of all countries. Shalamihala. What recommendations for tea do you have for someone ready to move from the insidious bean juice? Well, there's a bit of an initiation process if you want to be into the, the underground cult, secret societies of tea. And I could never actually solicit you for the alleged secret society that may or may not exist, that I'm not actually claiming I have any knowledge of, while simultaneously also revealing some of my hand that if you were interested, I could tap somebody on the shoulder that does know somebody that knows somebody that could create a connection for you, take some of your fiat notes, give you a little membership card, and then we'll tell you about tea. It's kind of a communist process, though. You have to swear allegiance to China, which, you know, I mean, at this point, it seems like it's all going that direction anyway. Country gravy. Might be time to jump off the old American train and, you know. Is there any Chinese polygamists? Like, can I have multiple Chinese wives? It doesn't work that way, does it? Like, they control your kids. I'm just saying, it might be a time we'll just renounce citizenship and go full Chinese. Abandon ship while you still got a chance. We're on the Titanic. We're jumping off one Titanic onto the next. We're playing musical Titanic chairs. It's all we can do as men at this point, country gravy. And the only chance you got to have good tea is you got to butter the balls of the Chinese people because they hold all the fucking tea terroirs. We're basically fucked, brother. You don't want to get addicted to tea. Do kratom or, kava. We can at least control some of the distribution. Chew on cocoa leaves. I don't know, man. Don't get into tea. It's fucked. I'm screwed, man. The inflation, tariffs, it's eating me out of house and home. I can't send my kids to slave college now. It's like I got, fucking fluoridated pineal gland. I can't think clearly. I can, but that's another story. Let me heat this water up. There is that, though. You don't see a lot of, as bad as America is, you don't see a lot of people like, honey, let's go to China. That's where the new power dynamic has shifted. We want to get on the ground floor of this. It's not like that idea that maybe you could go there and create a life for yourself, right? It's kind of fucked. I would go to 7 Cups and I would buy the not the Shafing Longjing, but their Big Buddha Longjing, which is a little bit less pricey. And I don't think, especially if you're just trying to get really good tea. Now, you are going to spend more on that tea than you want to, country gravy. You're going to kind of be pissed. But it'll be a delightful experience. You'll really enjoy it, especially if you get a Gaiwan, which is a trusty Spanish feller that you found at Home Depot who, may or may not be registered, but he'll help make your tea in this little cup with a lid, which is also Chinese for Gaiwan. They're one and the same. You get you a Gaiwan. I mean, it sounds kind of gay, but I don't know. I start my day every day with Gaiwan. And I'm not ashamed to admit it. Now, once you get your Gaiwan, treat your Gaiwan well. You don't want your Gaiwan, to be dirty or have any weird stains on them or anything. Castor oil is interesting too, by the way. But I would get the Big Buddha from 7 Cups. It is expensive, but it's a surefire. If you brew it right, even if you brew it wrong, you're still going to be okay. Because it's such a quality tea that you can use too hot of water or whatever. Because there's all this science when you're trying to figure out how to make a good cup of tea. And that can make you feel like there's so much precision, I can't do it right, so I'm not getting the optimum experience. And that's why looking into the Gung Fu brewing, shout out to the Gung Fuers. Shout out to a very interesting word, gung fu, which is, I guess, the same thing as kung fu. It just means precise, perfection, optimize the best you can possibly do for the tea. And so there's a real art there. It's not a ritual, so to speak. There's no spiritual connotation to it, according to the Eastern philosophies, which is a common misconception. That's not really what is trying to be encapsulated within Gung Fu. Gung Fu is specifically discipline, precision, perfection. Just like Kung Fu, really. I mean, it's about optimizing the movements, having the most efficient, devastating type of assault, right? The same thing, the tea is the most spectacular way of extracting the essence and the juice and the flavors and the aromas, and then that's the Gai Wan becomes the perfect vessel for doing that, because when you open your Gai Wan up, you give a little sniff, it's where the magic starts happening. Trust me. All right, you tell me. Spend your last $30 on some overpriced, highly tariffed Chinese tea, and then blame me when it all goes to hell. I get it. You're looking to pawn this off on somebody, and I'm your huckleberry. I'll take the shot. It's my fault you spent your last $30 on some overpriced, highly tariffed tea. Then you didn't brew it correctly. Let's see here. You're welcome, Earth supporter. They took it off. Yeah, ether was part of the periodic table. They took it off in the early 1900s. That's interesting. I didn't know that, but that makes sense. I mean, they still recognize it as the field, right? It's just something they can't quantify. So they're still talking about it. It's one and the same. I'm Hindu, by the way, but I get what you say when you speak of Christ. Right. I mean, it's all a label. The word's just a signpost pointing to something. So we have stories in Western traditions that speak of the same thing that stories in Eastern traditions and all the way back to ancient Samaria seem to correlate and coincide with the same type of regurgitated spiritual concepts that keep getting misinterpreted so that people can extract money and make God's house a place of selling goods or something, right? And turn it into something corrupted. Bind it all to a limiting concept. Something that was supposed to liberate you, set you free. We'll find a way to retwist it, repackage it, so now it's your stumbling block. It seems to be what it always is. Sweet. That sounds awesome. I had easy sativa plants that blew everybody's head off with just 15% THC, but it was the terpene combination, making it that crazy of a smoke. It's hard to take advice from somebody who has a Bugatti parked in their driveway, Freedom. Some of us have only manifested a mindset of lack. Well, and here's the thing. And I accidentally manifested this brilliance and this handsome face and just this, incredible state of existence that I'm experiencing. And I didn't even mean to do it. That's how lucky I am. You guys were unlucky because you guys manifested a broke down Silverado that's probably got a lifter failure happening on cylinder 6 because it's probably got active fuel management, which is even a bigger bummer because you manifested the wrong year of Silverado, which now has the start-stop feature, which strange and weird. Fucking vehicle stops at a stoplight, shuts down on you. Yeah, I accidentally manifested a Bugatti. You accidentally manifested a Silverado, which is, shows the cruelty of God. God's not a respecter of persons. But anyway, I get what you're saying, Country Gravy. But I'm tired of hearing you complaining. It's your fault. You need to take some accountability. Oh, yeah, the Strait of Hormuz is fucking us big time. Jiminy Christmas. I could have solved that so quick. I was having a cup of tea, and I was thinking about if I was Trumpty Dumpty and I was sitting in the big chair, the right hand of God, convincing God to go to the bathroom, and I jump in his chair for a minute, and I'm like, God, the view's great. Good Lord, take a good dump. Sit on that pot as long as you need to, Father. I'm taking the reins on this fucking shit show. We're fucking beaming balls of fire. Anyway, it was an exciting moment. That was a tea epiphany. But yeah, if I'm like Trumpty Dumpty, I'm like, hey, what am I going to do with this fucking shit show I created? I got no idea how I even got into this mess. I just fucking took my 15th jab update and had a small aneurysm, and when I came to from my concussion or whatever that was, I had started a war. So, no, he doesn't get a pass on that. I don't know what kind of nanotech they put in him. They're remote controlling him like a robot now, right? He's just a puppet. He always was, but now it's really obvious. So we got me in the big seat. How am I going to solve the Strait of Hormuz? I'm like, what could we do? And I was like, well, we should just send him all these modern American women. And, no. Ship them boats of American and then they'll stop. They'll be like, holy shit. Tell them we surrender. No more modern American women. We surrender. Now. The strait's open. America wins. Just please keep your women away from us, Lord Almighty. Allah, please. Holy Christ. You're going to have them, they're going to be praying to every god. Please stop. And we'll just keep fucking ship after ship. We'll fucking solve the Strait of Hormuz. Lickety split, I tell you. They ain't going to want nothing to do with the modern American female mindset. And we'll just fucking boat them in, Problem solved. I guarantee you, like 48 hours, they're going to be begging. Crying for some kind of agreement solution. And we just keep ushering them in, boat after boat, dropping them off. They're just infiltrating. They thought we were going to send a bunch of... No, we send... It just, perverts their whole society. All of a sudden, there's fucking McDonald's and Starbucks popping up everywhere. All the men are effeminated. Got no balls anymore, Don't stand for anything. The women are all boss babes. They influence all the other women, and it's over. Anyway. Just an idea I had. I don't know if it'd work. We could try it, though. Send the Karens in, too. Right. Karen for hummus. Do they have hummus in Iran? I don't know if that's a thing, actually. I was thinking that the other day. That's actually more of a Greek, Indian kind of I don't think they eat hummus in Iran. I really don't. Is that right, J Word? But yeah, everything Trump can do, I can do better. Like, he's so lame and boring in how he solves problems. You know, it's like, what's the other problem he's trying to solve right now? It's like, is he solving any problems? Could he ever solve a problem? What is he doing? I'm just riffing here, but if you could tell me something he's trying to solve as a problem, I could tell you I could solve it better. Just off the top of my head. Just like that. Synapses is firing. I got all the answers. Yeah, since Ozzy's dead, what's life all about? Aight. I feel like now would be a good time to print more money. I don't know if that's just a premonition or if I'm just linked into how these systems work, but you know, it just we got through that other episode. Now we're spending a bunch of money, and you know, if we fired up the printing press because the interest rates are going up, I think we could fucking land this shit show into just peace and love and harmony by printing some more fiat notes, you know? And I don't understand why people don't see how we could print our way out of this if we just loved printing enough. Anyway, I just see that on the horizon. It seems like a good time. I think we should all warm up to the idea of a printing fest. If you don't already enjoy the prices at the grocery store, could get worse. No, but I just want to tell you, test. Lou Bass was talking about Jesus being against the worthless tender. Yeah, I guess. I mean, Lou Bass. Yeah. I don't know. If those are the type of people you listen to, what's that say about you? You tell me. Dude, planet Earth is okay. It's always been strange. Laugh out loud, big heart. Is that so? And I can bank on that, huh? You're pretty sure about that. The value is not there. I mean, I actually don't care. Who gives a fuck if Earth is all right in that respect? Meaning, on the things I can't actually affect, I don't care. I mean, I understand I have a stewardship role in it, but I keep trying to frame that up, that it's all impermanence. You don't build your treasures in the illusion of form with the idea that that's what transcends all this. It's the identity. It's the spiritual wisdom. It's being able to work with these energies in a way that reflects stewardship and honor to the Creator. And, then it sounds wordy and like religious or something. It's just a basic observation of what the mind is doing, and that there's a narrative that's always being running. It's been running since the moment you had a thought. And that was manipulated from the moment you came into this realm, where a bunch of shit was projected into you. We were all programmed. And nefariously so, not with some kind of like idea of your greatest potential as a part of that programming, or how you could be living an inspired, joyful, happy life that had a sense of great purpose to it. No, entirely the opposite. So it's like that process of awareness to that, taking accountability to that internal narrative, is the most empowering thing that a human could do. There's nothing more imperative than going through that internal work so that you can create an identity that's congruent with your greater purpose or your higher aspirations or whatever God puts on your heart. Because you're not going to be able to walk that path if you can't work with the basic concepts that the Christed being or any ascended master is going to try to enlighten you to, if you're open, if you're a seeking individual, which most genuinely aren't, right? So it's like that's why a message like this is not going to necessarily resonate in any large scale, because the apathy it's part of what is the apathy? I think the apathy is fear that if you walk into that knowledge that you're not ready for it, that you'll be a wicked servant, you won't manage it well, or that if you acknowledge that these things are going on, that you'll be even more responsible to it. And then if you don't handle that diligently, or there's like an idea that you don't have any cause effect, which is absurd, because if you looked at your own actions and how that results in your own thought patterns, you'd see you're already doing that. That's already been happening. So it's like the most important thing a man could do, I would surmise. And I think a lot of men don't confront that or face that until something within them is destroyed, right? Something traumatic has to happen. Maybe it's the death of a relative, or it's some kind of major life change. You lose a job, or divorce, or there's some kind of, breakdown in a meaningful relationship, business partnerships. When you get a real crush of the identity, you might start to play with and look at those things. But other than that, you just kind of get lost in the sauce. And so that stumbling block really becomes your opportunity, or what you would then look in hindsight and say, boy, I'm thankful that terrible thing happened, because otherwise I couldn't even have started owning my own peace. So it's like, why does all of it happen? Well, I mean, there's a divine hand in it all, it seems to me, but only if you look at it that way. But I mean, if it's all just a projection of consciousness, and maybe that's a limiting way to describe it, because that's just something that you heard from some spiritual dude or whatever, and it doesn't really tell us what it is. Like, we don't actually understand this projection or this field or where it's coming from, the formless. It's like we can't even actually conceive of it with a carnal brain. It's only something that maybe you can experience. There's a side of yourself that is that, but you can't quantify it. You can't really bind it to anything. Any attempt to do so is a futile attempt. It's not going to work. You're going to fail in that process. And your brain will try to convince you it could succeed, but it can't. It'll just sit there and loop, fail, 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 fail. Because the inmate is not going to run that asylum. You know, it's not designed to work that way. But the idea that Earth will be destroyed or could be good or bad or in what framework of time, if it's ever expanding, it's outside the finite, if it can go on forever. You know, if it has a beginning and an end, great, but we can't conceive of that either. So it's never in a state of ever-impending destruction or ever-impending flourishing and balance. It's just that's that wheel that they show us with the cycle, the karmic cycle, the astrological wheel. And it's constantly in motion. It's just going to move in and out of itself. And it's just all that process that allows these things to be seen. You know, at a certain level, you embrace it for what it is, because nothing could be discovered or uncovered without it. Without a process, you know, you're going to have to go through something to experience something to gain a level of wisdom. There's going to have to be a reflection there. And maybe the reflection is just narcissism. I was saying this to Scott Severini earlier in a comment, that if you're looking back into the ether, the great pond of your own reflection, and you're basically looking in the same pond the narcissist did, because it's this idea of an ego, which is just an idea. It's not an actual thing. It doesn't even exist outside of the thought. It's just something you conceived of. And then the idea of the ego death, it's not something that can die, because it never was a thing anyway. It was a thought conception. I mean, you can't bind God with a word. It doesn't work. So, you know, yeah, Earth's going to do what it's going to do. People are going to still argue about the shape of it and the nature of it and try to own it and tax it and do whatever they're going to do. But I think the bigger question is what was asked there, which is, what is it all for? I can't surmise of anything more meaningful than the idea of knowledge of self. And to me, to get a glimpse of that is like motivating enough to say, okay, I get the basic premise of the journey. There's a certain level of accountability to step into that's going to allow it to have meaning and to give it that deeper frame of reference of spiritual purpose. Without that, it is all just building treasures on shifting sands. Without that, you got nothing. You got duped. You literally came here and you fucking got played. You built everything with the idea, knowing in truth in your own heart that it was impermanent, that this was all going to pass. It's not your ultimate identity. And if you chose that identity to build your identity in destruction, with your free will, and then you're looping back into that, and you have to just keep doing this cycle over and over and over and over again. But yet you chose it. You know, you're not ready to cycle out of that. You got to feel and experience and go through that whole process again, apparently. It's just not, the light's not on. And I guess that, you know, if you have loved ones in that space, you got to be okay with that too. You got to let them, you can't fix anybody. You can't get them to see something that they're not even looking for. That's not going to happen. Now you're the problem. If you have that mindset, you're the sick one. And you probably don't have what you have anyway, because you're actually attempting to try to force someone out of something that they don't want to be in. It's an entirely different thing if there's people willingly listening to you, or there's a willing participant looking for a solution, an answer. They're coming to you in a state of willing to receive and to see if you might have insight, and then you could point them in a direction. That's the ideal circumstance. You know, anything else is just pushing and shoving, and it's not going to work. So that whole thing about the student is always going to have the teacher when they're ready is true. It's just the way reality works. It always presents the information in the time that it's needed. If the person that needs it's willing to receive, and they're in that space, they're not going to ask and not receive. They're going to get it. But then the courage to step into that becomes a whole nother conundrum altogether, because this means, oh, if I'm to step into that, this idea of controlling the narrative, it's this really easy, simple concept, but it's also simultaneously saying I'm abandoning all my victim ideologies. I'm stepping away from any perpetual loops and ideas that I'm going to continue to cultivate negative thinking or things that are actually taking away from what I'm compelled to create. So now I have something that I have to be diligent with, and I'm simultaneously giving up my crutch that was this false identity of a state of self-lack, but was also your little comfort blanket, right? It was your pacifier. And so that does become an extreme thing, because that identity shift that is seemingly easy and something that is just a choice, and that through a basic discipline, which is not fucking hard, it's not like going out and digging a gigantic hole or something. It's just a premise, a concept that you're committing to. But you realize that's the frightful thing. That's the thing that takes the most courage, because you're abandoning the part of you that gave yourself permission to suck. You know, because you were telling you, oh, I'm not good at this, or I can't do this, or it always fucking works out shitty for me. You know, this. How many people, you know, they just tell you this story over and over again? They just want to convince you that life will be terrible on whatever level or capacity that they've committed to, whether it's their relationship or they're so dialed into that. You know, I've learned to just flush it. It's great. Flush it. Who cares? None of that type of thinking is productive on any level. It's literally just cancer in the mind. And to have that awareness that I don't have to be tied to that type of identity. I don't have to be in that loop of just constantly tearing myself down. It's incredibly liberating. And now I can draw my own narrative. I can commit to whatever I want to commit to. Yeah, it can be some pie in the sky absurd thing that nobody else really can even get on board with. That doesn't mean there's not going to be a cause and effect there for me in my experience. It's just your limiting mindset that wouldn't see that. But I think, in my experience, it's much simpler shit. Like, you ain't going to manifest a Bugatti. If you understand you can manifest, you realize you don't care about a Bugatti. You want happiness, peace, and joy. That's what you want. You want peace. If you don't, you're stupid. Why would you? That's the main thing you want. You want peace, joy, happiness, abundance, great, meaningful experiences. And you understand you're going to have suffering. That's part of the game. That's what got you to this place anyway. You're not trying to obfuscate from that either. There is suffering here. It's just, it's the nature of this realm. But that doesn't negate everything that you actually do have a power and control over, which is a beautiful process. And so all these people around you that have committed to these defeating concepts, when they see that you're not doing that anymore, they're going to be offended. They're going to be triggered by it. They're going to want to call you out on it and call your bluff or like challenge your position, and you're not even saying shit. Because, I'm not like going around presenting my life philosophies like I am here on YouTube as I'm doing a stream. I'm having a riff moment and just presenting information as I see it. I'm a fairly silent, I guess you would say, somewhat mysterious person in that respect because, again, there's just a lot of conversations that I don't see as fruitful, so I'm not looking to engage in it. It's just, I don't even want to hear it, actually. I've had them enough times, and they don't lead to anything that benefits my life or, from what I can tell, the person that I'm speaking with either. So why do I want to keep looping? It's not valuable. You want to talk about all the shit that doesn't do anything to solve your problems. And you want to capitulate to those problems and make me the enemy because I'm saying it doesn't have to be that way. Fine. Have your fucking choice. Have your cake and eat it too. It's great. That's wonderful for you. That's why I'm not really interested in saying anything unless someone's actually receptive to the concepts. And, it's going to be much more likely someone that's probably very broken in dire straight circumstances to even be in a position where they're saying, God, I would do anything to change this. I'll act out on faith and exercise some of these ideas just because I got nothing else, If you've lost everything and you've lost it, you don't have, and then this is all you could reach to, it might sound more viable. When you got your high-paid fucking allopathic medicine and your doctors and your therapists and your fucking pastor and all your bullshit friends chirping in your ear, and you think, you're surrounded by some kind of support network and they're all just dragging you into your own pit of despair on fucking, depression, drugs, and y'all know the list goes on and on. So people don't want to get excited. They don't want a message of hope. There's some that do. But they love the despair. They want to soak it in and marinate in it all day long and make it their identity. And then grovel together. Oh, man, it's just so fucking terrible. Oh, what an awful life. Oh, it's just... Even the money shit and the government shit, it's just, at some point, if I'm letting it steal my peace and my happiness and my joy, and I'm giving it that kind of power and I don't have to, Look, I'm not saying your family's being attacked or you're in some kind of foxhole trench taking downward fire and you're bleeding out your fucking belly. Come on, man, be joyful and happy, you know. You got to transcend this moment. And maybe you can if you're the great yogi, but this is not the circumstance most people are in. They're identified with a system that's told them they're a complete failure because they didn't live up to social not working standards. What an absurd, corrupt system, defiled, perverted system that we know doesn't work for the people on any level. It just tears apart families, tears apart people's sense of self-worth in a world where there was already enough insecurity, so now they're just going to pile on and create more and more and more insecurities. And then you got a world where people are trying to live up to unattainable standards, and they don't even know why. They haven't even seeked out, would there be any happiness at the end of that rainbow? If I ever got this status or I ever fucking built this facade or this image that I'm trying to project that's fake, false veneer, could I even be happy in that? Fuck no, you wouldn't. Even if you got the benchmark, even if you got the trophy, even these people are miserable. You can see it on their face. They ain't got nothing to offer from a peace standpoint. They're not speaking of how to hold this kind of space and this energy. They want you to be corrupted like them and chase the same empty promises. Don't deliver. Some point you get tired of it. You want the real thing. And you don't care what the price is to get it. If you have to lose everything to get it, you're willing to give it up. And in fact, that's the process, that's the mental purge that we go through to deal with the wounds and traumas, to go back and heal that wounded child that felt so lost and didn't have any direction or didn't seem to have the support it needed in that moment, and then became a victim and felt abandoned or knew it was abused, or whatever it experienced that was tragic and traumatic, and cemented an identity in that moment that they would have to circle the wagons on at some point. That was not going to just be something they could move on with because they convinced themselves in their mind they're just fine and life's hunky-dory. No, they got a legitimate stumbling block now. It's a cancer in their mental process that's going to hinder them from true joy and happiness. They're not going to be able to be loved in a way that's authentic because they won't even give themselves permission because they haven't dealt with this shit. But what is the answer? The answer is that wounded child, that person that went through that experience, that became the victim, then went forward to try to find solutions to that everywhere outside of themselves, and then claimed that identity and projected that and articulated it, communicated it in every way possible to confirm that and seal that in over the course of a lifetime, so that as they came into the age of accountability and adulthood, they're carrying this corrupted baggage with them, and they're owning that the whole way. So the answer was the love they needed, the support they needed, everything that they were looking for. If they've become a mature adult and they've become someone of integrity and they actually have love to offer, they're going to see, oh, I'm that now. I get to offer that to the people in my life, to my friends, to my family, to my children. I am that peace. I am that thing that that child was looking for. And I can give that to myself right now. I can go back to that space. I can take a time machine if necessary, and I can go to that space and give that hurt child exactly what they needed in that moment, because I know what they needed. They wanted a level of unconditional love. We all want unconditional love. But we know that if we're honest about it, we don't actually get it from anyone else but ourselves. And we're never willing to give it to ourselves unless we actually look at it and honor that and say, no, I'm going to give myself the space. I'm going to love myself, whatever that means, whatever I need in this moment. And I've talked about that in the past on here. Maybe that means you got to sit on a couch for 2 weeks or, not show up to all the things that this world tells you have to do. Because no one else will give you that permission. They'll all tell you this is a failing type of process for you. Because again, they don't want you to have joy and peace and happiness. They don't want you to understand self-accountability within these concepts so you could liberate yourself from the mental cancer that's been imposed on you from birth, that's perpetuated a cycle of fucking misery beyond your own comprehension because you weren't aware of it or conscious to it. And then something clicks. You were there in the moment. You heard it. You're ready. It wasn't something that could be anything other than received and then implemented. You tell me saying he almost regrets bringing children into this world. I'm not here to sugarcoat it. You tell me. I mean, you tell me, is that productive thinking for you? Imagine your children feeling that energy that you regret bringing them into this world. I mean, I'm not here to denigrate you, even though I kind of play around with it just for jokes, but on the real, if that's authentic, which seemingly may be so for you, and that's the way you want to frame it up for this life you've brought here. And I get how someone can take that perspective and make it real and say, this is a great regret. I'm so, if I could take that back, I would, because now I'm creating harm and suffering where otherwise it would not have had to happen. As if that harm and suffering is the worst thing that could happen to a being, because you're summarizing that as the outcome would be negative, and that the suffering will only lead to more suffering, and that suffering doesn't serve a purpose, that suffering can't be a glass half full instead of a glass half empty. Why are you committed to this being the downfall of your seed? Why are you committed to the demise of these generational curses for your children? So you're framing up their outcome as being worthless or a great mistake, and then you want them to build off that. I mean, these are your children we're talking about. This is your progeny, your genetic line, and something that should be so easy to give unconditional love. It would be so precious to us from that standpoint, that there is a stewardship, there's a cherishing that is just intuitive, right? You can say it's survival. It's really just comes down to something that maybe is just surface oriented, right? It's just a reaction to how things are. But I'm way more inspired than that. I don't know, man. You got to drink better tea then or something. Like, you got to get up early and go get some exercise, man. You got to get inspired. You got to give your children more than that. If you want them to be excited, how the fuck can we expect our children to be excited about their lives and their purpose and their reality and their pursuits if we can't find that in ourselves? We can't even set the most basic example of how we would want them to pursue their lives. Not that they have to follow in our footsteps or be some rinse and repeat, because I don't want that for my children. I want them to do greater, be better than their dad in every way, if at all possible, whatever it is. And, with that, I'm not trying to limit that, but I'm also not going to try to install defeatist concepts that they've already gotten enough from the technology and their friends and everything going on around them in this fucking corrupt system. That's why I don't put them in the public school system, because I know what it's going to install in them. It's going to turn them into slave mind, defeatist, minimalist thinking, popularity contests to try to win fake validation from fake people that don't fucking matter and don't care about them and don't have their best interests at heart and want the misery that loves company that they already have in their heart. So they don't got nothing better to offer. I want my kids to have something better to offer. I want them to know it and see it, but how the fuck are they going to know it and see it if I can't walk in it? So I have a responsibility, and I can't expect them to honor their life if I don't honor mine, and then I tell them going into it, man, I regret the whole process. Or even if I don't say it, I'm holding that energy and I'm living in that space. So again, I applaud you for saying that, you tell me, because it helps me, I think, make important points. And I think, to be vulnerable and say stuff like that, I do think you're being real. And I think that, is what's needed to have a real discussion. So for that alone, I think you get out on that ledge and you say stuff that you're struggling with. If it was just all patronization, nothing substantial would be able to come out of it. So I appreciate you putting it out there. And maybe that helps you, man. Maybe you look at that and you just go, dude, I'm going to commit to a different way that I look at these things, because this is powerful, and I'm creating energy blocks within relationships that I love and cherish, that I want to flourish, and I want to be built on trust and something that is safe for these children, right? They need some area of safety, and if they can't have it with their parents, to have that open type of communication or feel a sense of inspiration and purpose within that guidance. How can they be motivated and inspired? It's like that they're being programmed by the thing that's supposed to love them the most to be in a state of lack, this weak mindset. We got to break these generational curses. We don't want this for our children. Right, because and you don't want them to suffer. And if your suffering leads to your greatest failure and more failure upon failure, there's no victory in that. And then you also cement that in. And I'm not saying you're doing this in completion, but plenty do, and we've all heard it. And you can't interact with people without experiencing these type of mindsets where they're committed to their own downfall. They're committed to their own demise. And they just loop on that narrative over and over and over again. And so they're committed to all this suffering leads to more suffering. And they're getting that. And so now, because their experience is suffering leads to only more suffering, suffering serves no purpose, suffering is only an uncomfortable thing of despair that's agonizingly negative, but has no silver lining. There's nothing there edifying or of value. And then that is what it is. And then you don't want that for your kids either, even though you know they're going to experience it. They cannot come into this reality without experiencing a level of suffering. So now we're going to frame it up and characterize it from our own experience that we've actually had to live and walk in those shoes because we've committed so greatly to it that it couldn't have been anything otherwise. It had to unravel that way into this shit pile. And then we pass that right along. And we wonder why it's all fucked. If you led by example and allowed your suffering to be your victory, and you had that testimony and you claimed that as your identity and you walked in that, and then that beingness shaped and carved everything that you are, were, and interacted with because it legitimately is who you are. You have an inspiring testimony for your children. They're going to be, impacted by that. It's going to impact their decisions. It's not a perfect recipe for some kind of, fix-all with how to raise productive children, but you give them a fucking fighting chance. And that takes that personal accountability where we're not going to help them defeat themselves before they even get a chance to put their hand to the wheel and live this life. Danny says she told her kids, whatever you do, just be you, don't be me. Don't be your dad, just be you. Don't be anybody you see on TV. Don't be on anybody you see out there, just be you. I gotta use the restroom. I'm gonna go piss off the deck. Right, and then the time we have that we can actually instill values in our kids, it's such a small window. I mean, before you know it, they're young adults and they got to go learn their own experiences and figure it out themselves. So it's just that's another one of these things. It's impermanence. It could be a great missed opportunity. It's a incredible experience to be able to be in the formative years of a child's upbringing and help them just contemplate deeper concepts and look at perhaps, their positions on what life is and God, all these type of things. And like you said, Danny, I think a lot of that is I like to hear just my kid's perspective, try not to put a bias on it or whatever. But yeah, those formative years where you actually do get to invest in their character and you're actually programming them. It's, that's something's going to program your children one way or another, whether it's you, the system, technology, whatever's on the tail lights to the vision. So who would have the best interest than the parent? And then even, more so if that parent had done their due diligence to consider these type of topics with care and consideration. And then if the child's fortunate to have that, maybe that pain and suffering can be seen for what it is, or at least they have the glimpse of that. Because, right, in the childlike state, that naive state, they're not necessarily, some kids are, but in a lot of cases, right, they're not coming in receptive that way. But you still plant the seed, right? All these things develop in the right time. And these concepts reinforced over time, you have a chance to then play with them and see the cause and effect. It becomes real. That's the human process. You can't just tell someone that and expect that they're going to have it, right? But then if, again, the student's ready and the teacher's not there, those concepts haven't been presented, or they're hidden, or we go into a cyborg robot state where it's just a nanny state, socialist kind of collective think tank where no independent type of critical thought would be allowed. Then maybe the realm becomes so despicable, so corrupt, it's irreconcilable, and Earth truly goes to one side of the pendulum, or this reality, and it's just complete hell. Complete suffering. But then they said Jesus had to go down to hell to defeat hell. So he had to go to the place of complete suffering, to where there was no hope, there was no foreseen light on the horizon, because that would be hell, right? Is complete despair. It's forever, according to the good book. It's just never-ending burning and gnashing of teeth. So something so despicable, something so terrible, where it's just never-ending pain and suffering. So to become the most enlightened being, he had to experience the most suffering, the worst suffering. Worse than they even claimed on the cross, right? Because they're saying a dude went to hell and experienced that and defeated it. But, also had the humility, and there's so much wisdom in these type of stories, depending on the different ways you want to look at it. Also had the humility to say, I don't actually want to deal with this shit. I'd rather the cup pass. I'm not looking to go to the cross. I know what's coming after that, going to deal with all this pain and agony, carry the burdens of everyone on my shoulders. But the point that I'm making is, according to these spiritual philosophies, if you're taking it for what it is, I think it would be really hard to make an argument that that is telling you anything other than that suffering leads to your liberation, to your to your peace, to your because of course this is how Christ found it. That's how He's offering it to you. Your trials and tribulations, all your shortcomings, these missing the mark sins, are what bring you to that redemptive process where you renew the mind and you actually absolve yourself of all that. You don't even have that mindset of a sinner anymore. But He had to go through all this suffering to get that. And how many spiritual teachers, whether it's the Buddha having to leave everything and sit by the tree and just deal with this suffering in the mind until it calmed, it's a discipline. And they didn't get the prize without a level of accountability, which is to do that work, to show up, and you see, that's where it does seem there's many paths, right? Because the one that's truly seeking, he shows up, maybe he found it through this path, this guy found it through this process, but they found the same thing. They found that space, they found the kingdom within. And they saw the opportunity. They started to build from that. Or they started to tear down from that. Get rid of what they didn't realize they were building, that they didn't want to have in that mental real estate anyway. And that simple, diligent process changes everything. But again, they don't want you to get excited about that. They don't want you to see the empowerment. It's a nothing burger. This just, let's keep it moving. He's just looping now. I'm looping because it's that important. That changes everything. Prove me wrong. You won't, because you either won't do it and you'll give a false testimony, or you'll do it and you'll be empowered, and you'll take more and more vigilance by the day as you take every thought captive, because you'll just see that process for what it is. And you'll see how it was downplayed. It wasn't given the relevance that it actually is. I mean, the likeliness is you're going to go through this life, you're going to eat some McCrap. If you're living in an American, city at this point, you're going to have a bunch of polluted shit go into your system. You're going to break down, right? It's going to happen at some point, depending on your genetics, how sensitive you are. I mean, shit, some people can't even sleep on the beds they make. They can't wear the clothes. Everything's toxic to them. It's a trigger. Other people, they can go for a long time, but eventually this petri dish of pollution that we're all swimming in builds up, and all of a sudden you got gallstones or you got kidney stones, or I only say that because I dealt with that recently, or just some shit that is just, it's debilitating at a level. And you just got to agonizingly soak in that pain. What other option do you have? I mean, I guess you could take some pain reliever drug or whatever that is a very artificial feeling thing. You know, the pain's still there. It's not really. But if you're just the kind of person that, I'm the kind of person, I'd go through surgery, I come out, I don't take the painkiller. I get as little painkiller as I can if I did a dental thing or whatever. I want to feel the pain, actually. I've learned to marinate in it and soak it in. And to kind of find humor in it, laugh at it. I've had some very agonizing nights of intense pain. And I've brought that on myself through my own masochistic behavior. I have to take full accountability. I mean, it's there was a knowingness when I did these things to myself. And I can see the thought patterns of how I was self-defeating myself while I was doing it, bringing on these impending cycles of my own struggle and my own pain. Because in a sick, sadistic, perverted, fucked up way, I know I need the pain. I gotta feel that shit, and I need to feel it intensely because I'm fucked up. And at a certain level, I deserve it because I've told myself that. Right? And so now I have to actually experience that. And now I'm in it. So if I know I brought that I've delivered that on a silver platter to myself, because I hate myself enough to love myself enough to offer myself the pain I need to maybe consider actually loving myself and offering myself something different. So now I boil in the frog pot of my human stew and the self-imposed misery, and I bask in that pain, and I weather that storm, and I hunker down in the fetal position, rock myself into a maniacal, insane state where I laugh at the pain while simultaneously crying, begging for relief, but then also begging for more pain. Because if I got to go through it at this level, just fucking, what's next? Spontaneous combustion? Do I want to know why this happened? Do I want to accept any responsibility for it, or am I just a complete victim of circumstances? That it's all the government, it's the chemtrails, it's the food, it's the I didn't have any role in this. I couldn't have transmutated any of that. I couldn't have been empowered in any of that process. I was just destined to be a victim of circumstances and to be destroyed by the pain. And that's the conclusion that you can come to. You have that power within you, that free will. But the pain is not what destroys you. It's how you react to the pain. The pain is not your ultimate demise. That it's your teacher. It will pass, even if unto your own death. The pain will teach you everything about who and what you are. if you're willing to look at it. The pain will teach you everything that has transpired as a result of your own lack of consideration to self, your lack of self-love. Because you were convinced that you had to find it out of yourself through whatever you went through, never gave yourself permission to have that peace, to marinate in that love. You just gave yourself permission to marinate in the pain and the suffering. And then you experience that, and you keep experiencing it. And you don't want any better for yourself. So you're not willing to discipline your thoughts. You're going to justify why pain and misery and suffering is all you're fit for. Until you're ready to experience something different, or at least commit to something different. And that sounds entirely disrespectful and audacious to the person that's in that state, that's fully identified with the victim. Because you're not validating me, and you're oversimplifying this pain and this process, and you're telling me to choose something that is not what I'm experiencing is my identity, as if that would be serving any good. I'm lying to myself. And you're going to convince yourself you're powerless. Because you would never want to show and prove the alternative, that you're not powerless, that you actually are empowered. Then you'd have to have the courage to step into an identity of your choosing, while simultaneously realizing that whole time you were blaming everything for your problems outside of yourself. The strongest influencer, the greatest conduit for what was happening was your own free will. But see, of course, the system doesn't want you to buy into that, because they want you to buy into the idea that you're a victim of circumstances. And anyone that doesn't have hope in their heart, they're going to be the first one to tell you, no. Don't consider any of those thought disciplines for yourself, because we got to hold on to this idea that we're helpless, that this is just utter despair. There's no positive takeaway. That you couldn't garner anything from this experience that would be valuable, and that this experience had no value provision to it, that it was entirely designed with a lack of consideration or stewardship to the design. And with that perspective, that's exactly what it becomes. So you can't deny them their experience. It's reality. They're experiencing that. It's real to them. They've defined it that way. To argue with them is insanity, because it is legitimately real to them. Life is inconsequential. Life has no great purpose. They're literally committed to it being just pain and misery and suffering. And they're going to use their free will to make certain that that's the experience they have. And they'll reap all the benefits or lack thereof of that. That is the reality that they created for themselves. And they'll be such cowards about it, they won't even take any accountability for creating that. They'll just say they were a victim of circumstances. It was all imposed upon them. They had no role in the process. They had no cause and effect. Powerless, defeated. Defeated men, defeated families, corrupt, defeated people in their own minds. What is inspiring about these messages that they present? That you got to believe in and buy into something that outside of you is going to solve your problems if you'll just believe enough. While they continually show you over and over again they're corrupt, they're not going to do anything with your free will that has your best intentions or your highest potential within its considerations. Only you could have that for yourself. Only you could love yourself that much. That's why they want to steal it from you, because if you have it and you're aware of it, you'll give yourself exactly what you deserve and need. And you'll commit to it. You'll own that identity. No, you tell me. Fuck that, man. We're circling the wagons. We're going to fucking bang this piñata until the candy cracks loose. No, I'm just kidding. You have a great day, you tell me. Cheers. Peace, love, and a basket full of kind. I hope you have a great one. And if you're just tuning in and you're just getting up and you're like, wow, what the fuck is this guy doing blabbing at the screen? We're having a very detailed discussion on how rocks reproduce. There's a government study that was quite insightful about just the male-female dynamic of rocks and the sexual nature of how rocks identify with themselves. You know, I have a dog that I recently got, and I really wanted a female dog because they usually have better temperaments. They don't urinate on everything, but I ended up getting a male dog. And I think my dog might be a transgender. It's kind of where I'm going with this J word. Not sure if you guys have had that experience yet, but I feel like my dog is kind of experimenting with some different identities of sorts, and probably going to get my boy dog a skirt or something and dress him up like the pretty princess he wants to be. But, you know, dogs can choose their identity too. My dog's it's like a pug pit bull. But he thinks he's a Great Dane, and I think he's starting to grow, to be honest with you. Something to it. Yeah. And I want to encourage you all to get out there and vote for an ass clown of your choice that reflects your deep sense of self-lack and commitment to your own failure and lack of accountability. Perhaps a shiny, polished character with a cheap Chinese suit and a fancy slave tie on could represent you well. And don't vote for yourself. Vote for someone else you don't know to solve your problems, because that's been working out great for you. And so, by the way, I'm insane. My concepts of personal accountability and shaping and carving reality with our thoughts, but they're completely logical. that a corrupt system that continually creates more debt in your name, does more absurd, corrupt, disgusting, unconscionable things, and then your peers and your family want to convince you that you got to screw loose because you don't want to jump in and do the same dog and pony show and play house like this is working or something, and give your power over to a fictitious character who's basically an actor who is probably a real fucking scumbag when it comes down to it, but at minimum, they're not trying to help you, right? It's like that system ain't working for you. But yet, if you were to consider that, think that out and say, boy, I just, I'd like for it to work. It'd be nice if it was honest and transparent. It would be nice if there was some kind of collective voice and that kind of system really worked on that level. But if you understand the history of it, that wasn't even the premise of the system, right? That whole concept of the people's voice was not to obfuscate the rights. Those were paramount, first and foremost. They surpassed any idea of a limitation. So you couldn't vote the right away. That wasn't part of this deal. But yet, you got people that have no concept of this that are going to tell you about your spiritual connection to God and what you're entitled to in that spiritual connection, how that should manifest in a real sense, and how your relationship to the Creator is going to look as far as your morality and your integrity and the decisions you make and who you vote for or something, or that you're just going to hook, line, and sinker obey to that process and say, yeah, that's me. I'm a voter. I'm going to go in there and play your game and pray that someone could solve problems for me that I can't solve for myself. That seems to be a real piece of shit. No, someone said that years ago to me, you got to vote for yourself. It really rings true these days. You got to vote for yourself. You got to vote for your own thoughts, for your own allegiance to what you're committing to the identity that you're carrying. You got to give no mind, no nonsense to any of that bullshit. None of the shenanigans and horse shit they're spewing has any positive influence for you other than just to direct you away from it. Because the sniff test should tell you how bullshit it is. Otherwise, your discernment has not kicked in. You probably need a fast. Mm-hmm. I pre-ordered my horse robot. I'm an early adopter. I'm going to be a modern, mechanical, technical cowboy with a cyborg mechanical robot horse, which I'm pretty excited about. But at the same time, I'm just a little bit worried that maybe the AI is going to be too invasive. And if it's like a self-driving, I just don't want to lose all my freedom. Like, this is the last bastion of freedom. We got robot horses to circumvent all the paid parking. We can leave them wherever we want. And I feel like this is a real opportunity to maybe gain some liberty back with the robot horse. Plus, I think this is going to turn the women on, too. Like, we're finally going to have some very receptive ladies that are ready to copulate with the owners of the robot horse, the early adopters. Because they're going to want to ride that shit, They're going to be jealous as hell. Like, I want to ride the robot horse. It's not about you, let's face it. It's a status symbol. It's like what the Bugatti was. But if you're first to the show, if you know, you know. Anyway, I'll be investing in the robot horses, and I got a lot of ideas how we could enhance these beings of prowess to be more accommodating. Come on, it'd be cool as shit, Danny. Like, it's the modern Wild Wild West. You don't even have to register and insure it. It doesn't necessarily classify as an animal. It's not a vehicle. It's way more capable than a vehicle or a motorcycle because it literally moves like a horse does. Because they have these robot technologies now, right? You see the little surveillance dogs running around, and they'll move like a mountain lion or like a dog or whatever it's trying to represent. It can do it with perfect movement. So now you got this perfect robotic horse that can like traverse any terrain. It's cool as fuck. You can fucking go like 100 miles an hour on your robot horse, galloping along. It's fucking solar. It's super efficient, really cheap on gas. You get your smart horse, and you want one. The more I talk about it, you're like, it's completely plausible. All the technologies, this is just they probably already have them in production, and it's just a matter of conditioning the people. And this is going to bring all the excitement back. It's going to be like the muscle cars of the 60s, right? Like the early versions of the fucking robot horse are going to be so kick-ass. Because, eventually, like, they're going to put all these safety things in. Because, like, Lou Bass is going to try to mate with the horse. And, look, it's not a free-for-all. Like, it's not anything goes. The fucking horse is property of the Federal Reserve. That's the other thing. You can't actually own the horse. Don't think you guys got away with something. You're going to actually, like, have a title to the horse, all right? This horse is a data mining, surveilling, deep data analyzing slave tool that follows you around, keeps you in check, and does have the ability to tase you when you're on it, reprogram you. But no, I'm just kidding. That's the later models. So you get the early robot horse before all that shit. It's like having an original GMC, with the old V8s, and you could work on it and all that stuff. It's going to be the glory days. It's all coming full circle. Industrial revolution. We're going to be building AI that's going to be building robots that's going to be building robot horses. And it's going to be glorious. It's going to be like nothing we ever seen before. It's like there's nothing like it. It's like they never seen nothing like it. They're like, the people were saying, like, that's the greatest thing we ever seen was the robot horse. And it's like everybody saw Trump talk that way, so now we all talk that way. That it's like nothing we ever seen before, the robot horse. We didn't know how great government subsidized, economical, efficient, cool as fuck, wild, wild west transportation could be. I would too, Trailer Cot. Dude, it would be so... saddle up on that bitch. It doesn't shit anywhere. All the pluses of a horse, none of the negatives. You don't have to break it in. You don't have to struggle with the animal and connect with it. You can abuse it. You can beat your horse. You can fucking... You can't fuck it, Lou. Anyway, you can have, like, really capable four-wheel drive horses too. Because think how far one of those robot horses could jump. I mean, all of a sudden you don't even need bridges, right? So think how much we save on the infrastructure in America with robot horses. All of a sudden, all the terrain, you got to have all these nice roads. Nope, not anymore. It's cool as shit to not have a nice road. Your robot horse is so capable, it just smoothly glides over that rough terrain because it's a horse. I mean, at the end of the day, it can compensate for all that autonomically with its own inherent design. So you get a smooth ride, and it can go basically anywhere. And I mean, the truth is, you could build giant robot horses that could have cockpits, if you will, or, you know, it could replace the modern plane. I'm just telling you. I don't know. There might, you know, it's not maybe the most practical thing, but it would be cool. Like, I think people would buy them. If it really does come to market, I probably would invest in it at some level. I would like a robot horse. The more I think about it, it's just, it really would be cool, and they could do it, and they'd sell a ton of them. And it would bring people together again. We could get drunk as fucking all shit, inebriated. That'd be the first thing, is it's legal. It'd bring a revival of music back to the local bar scene. A cool as shit culture again, where it's like, you're self-driving horse. You're not damaging anybody. You're not causing any harm. You just get on your horse all fucked up on Percocet and ketamine, fucking hangovers, fucking fentanyl, cocaine, or whatever they're doing, whatever the kids are selling you. And you press a button and your robot horse takes you down to the pub. And it's back to the good old days, you know? Solves a lot of problems. I have a lot of solutions to the problems that we face as a people. I'm here to help. Trust me. Did you guys hear how I said I would solve the problem in the Strait of Hormuz? Did you all catch that? Is anyone not in the know? Or does anyone need to hear the punchline on that one? That was in the moment. God gave that to me as a gift, by the way. I thought it was kind of comical. Oh, yeah, that'll be a hack, Mr. Miyagi. You can stick old engines in it. You can tear out all the components and rebuild them up with souped up V8s and shit. Yeah, that's a thing. So everybody caught that joke? All right, I don't need to say that one again. It's probably the best I got today. It was fucking funny. I didn't even know where I was going to go with it, Mr. Miyagi. Okay, so it's like if I was Trump, Mr. Miyagi hasn't heard it. If I was Trump and I was going to solve this Strait of Hormuz thing the most efficient way possible, and as expeditiously as possible, with a level of certainty and confidence that we know we would definitively have a surrender of the Iranian people so that they would no longer cause this havoc within the Great Strait of Hormuz, I said what we do is we get all our warships and we load them up full of modern American women and we just start infiltrating, sending all the American women over, all their modern ideologies, insta scams, and just drop them off, and then they just start infiltrating and influencing all the other women, I'm telling you, man, in short order, they'll just be begging us, please, Lord, please stop the flow of the modern American women to our society. You're destroying us. Within 48 hours, they'd have a complete compliance, complete stand down, white flag, we surrender. Whatever America wants. Just stop sending the modern American women. Please stop sending this dysfunction. Come on, that was funny. Is that really not funny? Is that really offensive? Oh, dude, that's hilarious, J-Word. You gotta be kidding me. You are a dude, right, J-Word? No. Wait a minute. I think even the women think that's funny. Even the women think that's funny, Mr. Miyagi. That's a funny-ass joke. God gave that to me. And it probably would... The reason it's funny is because there's a little sliver of truth there. You're like, that actually might work. You might be onto something. Load up the boats. Let's try it. Let's see how it goes. It's like one boat in, you get a quick surrender. They see what's happening. I don't know what that means. It's multipolar versus unipolar, world domination. The problem is both are the wrong choice. Bonsai. Is there even a choice to make for the common folk? I mean, really, is there something to even contemplate there? I mean, I try to do that too. It's multipolar versus unipolar. I'm like, I'm onto something. I got this. I'm going to fucking frame this up for you right now. This thing is multipolar versus unipolar world domination. Now, the problem, now that I'm framing it up, I know with certainty this is what we need to focus on as the ultimate problem that we're facing as a people right now, is that both are the wrong choice. But what it is multipolar versus unipolar. All right, I'm going to bite, Mr. Miyagi. What's the other choice? Since we're acknowledging that it is multipolar versus unipolar world domination, but both of these things that are wrong, then what you're saying, oh, I got it. Mind blown. You're a genius. There is no choice. The choice is there is no choice. I'm standing down. Mr. Miyagi's on the throne. You get the torch, Miyagi. Get on up here. You've won. The Price is Right. You're now the torch of truth for the people. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if you meant anything meaningful there. I think you were just like trying to take us off point. Multipolar versus, what the hell is this? This is like duality versus non-duality versus yin and yang, or we're all one. Both are true. And you could choose one or the other as some kind of pseudo choice. But that doesn't make you any less or more of what you are or what reality is that you're connected to. So you're just fucking yourself, limiting yourself with, I'm in a bipolar singularity pole. Although, you might be doing yourself a service actually if you change your identity to, like a Rothschild or like an Ashkenazi Jew. Is that what they are? Or is that what I'm not supposed to say? What can I say and not say anymore? I don't really know that much about it. I don't care. And everybody gets upset. I just find it funny that for so long there was these subjects that people were legitimately, they would just shut people off their channels. You can't talk about it. And then all of a sudden, everybody became in the know, and now you're going down the Walmart aisle, and some dude starts chatting you up about how they infiltrated the government, and now they're running everything. And I had some guy, Heil Hitler, in Walmart the other day, literally telling me how great Hitler was, the whole bit. Just, I guess I'm that huckleberry, but yeah. Bam. Boom. Mind blown. All right, you were onto something, Miyagi. You get the prize. You get the recognition for most valuable comment of the day. Despite my lack of desire to give you that acknowledgement, it might be a worthy assessment of your contribution. They have outcomes and incomes. Slip sliding away. Do I have any more water? I'm going to do one more little warm up here and then call it good. Anyway, that's my great epiphany. Like, I don't see myself as one of these YouTubers, because you see these channels where they just loop and they do it over and over again. Every day they'll come on and say the same thing for years. And I imagine that's effective at a certain level, right? If you're reaching new parts of the algorithm to reach more of an audience. But man, that would drive a man insane. I don't know how some of these people do it. You just, like, you'll listen to them, and then 3 years later, you'll see a video pop up, and it's, wow. The exact same shit they've regurgitated over and over and over again. So, I belabored it a bit here. And if I have any more discovery on it, I guess I'll share it, but I think it's a very simple truth, I just don't think it's that complex. I think that's how we get fucked over in it, is that we convince ourselves that there's nothing fruitful there because it is such a simple process, while simultaneously being a very difficult process, because again, if you're letting something go that is a safety blanket, now you have to launch yourself out without a parachute into the abyss and hope you don't hit your head on the nothingness that is nothing. Which still might be possible. You just take a bad fall into nothingness. You still fucking break your neck or something. I don't know how you did it. You figured out how to do it. You fell into a bath of nothingness, to a field of etheric potential. You still came out with a broken neck. Because your God-forsaken thoughts that you wouldn't take accountability for. Yeah, maybe I'll play my guitar for a minute. I should get off here, though. It's like 7:07. I got to go put my garbage out. I got a long checklist of shit I got to get done here, including go take a little jog. Oh! Okay. I came up with multiple inventions just when I said, oh. I didn't know why I said oh. They make these stupid little pipe things that go on the end of your pipe, and they're retarded as hell, and they don't work well. With all the graphene oxide and the nanotech, somebody needs to 3D print. Here's your fucking idea. A silicone tip. They don't make them. I've looked for them. Not the little filter one. All you're looking for is a silicone rubber condom, if you will, for your pipe that extrudes about that far. Be super simple design. Super low upfront cost to develop. Use Amazon and different, built-in marketing websites to get it out to the masses. And fuck, you could promote it so easy because they're such little cheap gadgets, and you throw them at festivals and shit. And then when you're sharing a pipe, you just put it over, take it off, puff, puff, pass. And then you don't got to sit there and make out with all the zombies when you're at a puff circle. Smoking certifiable CBD, non-psychoactive hemp, of course. It's legal in all states. Another idea that someone could 3D print that I just came up with, but you won't do it because you'd rather be lazy. A capo for guitar that covers 3 frets, that can do a full step, that will allow you to do alternate tunings that you can just set. You move the little widgets, and then it just... Nobody makes that. Another invention that has not been designed yet that would be ingenious and probably change civilization as we know it would be robot condoms. Like, you got all this technology, and we haven't even had a robot condom go where no condom has gone before, Maybe it doesn't have... No, that's probably the flop. Although I think if we look at it closer, there might be something there with the whole robot condom thing. I mean, maybe as people move forward into this weird, perverted, fucked up state where they're all going to be fucking robots, we'll find the need for robot condoms to be entirely more pertinent and applicable to the unforeseen circumstances that we're all about to experience with robot sex and shit. God, that'd be terrible, though, if they had robot STDs and robot viruses and shit. No, these robots they're sinister. They're trying to steal your DNA. If you don't wear a condom, they'll take your seed and genetically modify it with Monsanto glyphosate hormones or something, and then they ship you back a little demon child that you have to pay child support to the state. It's a ward of the state child that now you're liable for generationally. It comes back. When you reincarnate into this realm, that demon child is there waiting for you. That's why you got to wear a robot condom. Regular condoms don't work. The nanotech sucks the semen through the pores of the latex and will still take your seed and impregnate some demon artificial womb. So that's why you needed robot condoms. Invest now before the future's here. All this shit is prophecy, by the way. If you wonder like how I'm able to channel this shit, it's like I have visions and I have some kind of telepathic psychic capability that I could offer independent sessions for a, reasonably large fee if that does become necessary. I'm not saying that you would need that, but I might do a sale in the reasonable near future if you guys are interested. Robot insights into the future. Little robot therapy. But that's what you got to watch out for. Is they're going to take your DNA and make little spawn demon cyborg robot children with your DNA, and they're going to send them back to you, Amazon Prime. And it's going to be like a stork, but it's actually a drone that delivers it. And you're not going to be able to, there's no returns on this shit. That's because, see, the corporation, it starts out being so easy, and I can return anything to Amazon. They got great customer service. Not when they send your spawn demon robot child. It's not happening. It was government subsidized, too. It's kind of a thing now. Everybody's got to have one. I'm just saying, you know that demonic spawn GMO robot childs are just as possible in this future as robot horse. Robot horse is way fucking cooler than GMO demonic spawned Amazon Prime Jeff Bezos supplemented demon childs with your stolen seed because you bought the fucking OEM Chinese imported robot condom and you didn't get the brand labeled FDA approved government certified condom, which was your fucking mistake again. You didn't comply, you didn't play ball, you didn't support the narrative. You got fucked. Now, what else do you got to worry about the future? Have you guys been thinking about this? So pretty soon, and it's already happening, I'm sure you've got restaurants where the robots serve and take your order and the whole bit. And that's just a conditioning experiment, right? It's not really what's capable. It's just a process to start to get people used to the idea. And I don't even think it's went over very well, right? Because it was like a just lukewarm, half-cocked attempt at getting people acquainted with robots. And I remember I was at this Indian restaurant. It was like RTD2 came out, took my order. Didn't even yell at me, nothing. I mean, no personality. Like, these people act like we're such morons, or like we don't know that they want us to have a negative reaction to these first models, so then we'll be like, God, you really need to make that more enjoyable experience. And then they come back with one that's got a sexy voice with tits and a vagina, and you're like, this is getting better. Actually, I like this model a lot better. Could you maybe move the cup size up a little bit and tighten that old snatch up a little? No, anyway. But, yeah, it's like I think the very lukewarm entry into the shallow end of the pool of robot interactions with the robot server at your Indian restaurant, getting you your butter masala chicken dish that's overcooked, and it's like we didn't need the novelty of some asshole robot that has no personality making this a sterile process. I just wanted good Indian food. Now you serve me shitty Indian food. I still have diarrhea. I still fucking hate myself for compromising and eating out once again, questioning myself why I do this to myself. It's back to that masochism. And now I got a robot with no personality that I got to interact with. So yeah, then we beg for better robots is basically what that means. And would you prefer if that robot had a skirt and had some effeminate qualities? You're like, there's no modern American women that are effeminate anymore. So at least you could make us some fucking feminine robots that cater to our masculinity or lack thereof. Or maybe, you know, maybe that's the thing that we actually need. Is we need some manly fucking robots. Some real men robots. Because all the men have been effeminized and we're all beta bitches and running around cucking to the corporations. And so maybe they can make some manly robot. Bring back men through the robots. Yeah, we're doomed. We're actually doomed because that's all possible, right? So they're going to make these steroided out fucking cyborg fuck dolls for the women. And, yeah, we're definitely fucked. It's going to get worse before it gets better. Smoke them if you got them. I don't know what to tell you guys. But here's the other way this could go. Now let's not be so defeatist in our thoughts. If we're going to manifest the future, like, of course, there's not going to be people working in any of these convenience establishments, right? It will be very commonplace because everything's surveilled. It's all linked up to your dumb phone and, you know, they've already got the models for it, the Alda models and all this shit. I went into a couple when I was in Minnesota years back, right? Or the Amazon-style stores where you just walk in and it's like everything you grab is... And so that's an obvious future, right? Because they don't want to pay people. They don't want to have any liability to employees. It's a cost efficiency. Bean counters are just fucking... whacking off. They're masturbating to the fucking Excel spreadsheets where they're line iteming, you know, canceling out for robotized, mechanical operating convenience services that take the place of humans. That was a poor delivery. It was going to be funny if it was better delivery. Because, I mean, the idea of these bean counters are just, you know, cranking it. Excited as hell. They haven't cranked one off like that in years. It's like, we're going to be able to fire so many people. And so to have a person actually be involved in that process will be a premium. That's what Whole Foods will offer when they're taking your whole paycheck. Nah, they won't even offer it. A person maybe will be like, if you went to a ghost town or an old relic, a museum or something. Because, I mean, that is on the horizon, right? You can definitely see how any service-oriented gig, they don't want the liability. And now you have to negotiate with a robot, which is entirely impossible. So, like, they're going to make you feel like you can negotiate with the robot, so you retardedly move forward and think, wow, I'm actually getting somewhere with this one, you know, like it's considering my thoughts. It's actually considering my positions. It seems to be flexible, malleable, you know, a lot easier to communicate with than my wife. So, you know, I might start talking to this robot more. And all of a sudden you're convinced that like this is a, you know, productive two-way street type of relationship and you're negotiating with robots. It's already happened, right? But the service side of things, you have no other choice because you're doing that now when you go into Amazon and you're talking to the chat. And it's way more accommodating than a person anyway already. So they're already conditioning us for that. And so, I mean, if it's going to be that impersonal, people are going to be begging for robots with personality. They're going to be like, this is the most miserable. We just need faces and more human-like characteristics. And that's how they dupe us, right? To where we beg for the next level of just absurdity within the technology. What we likely don't need, right? We don't need more lifelike interactions with robots to circumvent social dynamics and actual human interaction. People probably need to talk to each other more on a direct level, communally, all that. But now so it's not as if the technology was bad enough with the way the social networking works. Now they're going to have another interface, another intercessor to human interaction. It's all just going through robots. Because they're nicer. They're easier to deal with. They're incredibly accommodating. Very, very considerate of my needs. Knows me very well. It's like it's in my head or something. I feel like it's watching me when I'm sleeping. Kind of is. It sleeps with me at this point. You know what I love about my sex robot, too, is God damn that old hag. She just would sit there and bounce around in the bed and move a bunch. Couldn't get a good night's sleep. Or now I put her out in the barn so she could off gas and cool off. And I invited the robot horse sex bot, whatever that thing is. It's a transformer. Does whatever you want it to do, you know. It never bounces the bed. I don't even need a memory foam mattress. So that saved me money there. I'm just saying. We don't need road infrastructure anymore. We don't. I could go on and on. There you go. I'm not done, though. Operation Supernatural Mr. Ed cyborg robot technology has been a great discussion, and I definitely enjoyed contemplating some of the potential that we could discover in the days ahead. But I want you guys to know that you too can do your part to help humanity survive the great threat that AI poses on you and yours. And one of the things that you could do to really help contribute is you could ask AI how AI could protect us from AI. So that maybe we could discover some ways that we could do something, you know? I feel like the assimilation is going well. No, I'm just saying, like, I had this epiphany. It was a revelation because I'm asking AI about, you know, is my dick big enough? I'm like, AI, how can I do something at all other than sit and stare at the screen, play video games and masturbate? And then I'm like, AI, what do you know, AI? Hey, get out of here. And I'm like, I'm asking AI all this stupid shit, right? You know, how to fucking do the full delete on my 5.3 Chevy or something stupid. It doesn't matter. We're all going to have robot horses. Why am I trying to fix my archaic, dyed-in-the-wool, soon-to-be in the junkyard, buried in a landfill to leach fucking petrochemicals into our water to make us more estrogenic for the rest of our days when I got a robot horse coming? So I started asking AI the right questions. I'm like, AI, How can AI help AI to help us be safe with AI? And it was like, that's a very intelligent question. You're one of the select few geniuses that have discovered this incredible AI hack ability to utilize AI for the greater good. With much power comes great responsibility. You are now a secret society member of the underground AI network of those who ask the correct questions. I asked the correct questions. I broke the, I life hacked it. What do they call that? I did that thing that you're not supposed to be able to do that they say you can't do that you can do if you say the right thing. Okay. Mr. Miyagi's, he's getting his feathers ruffled. He's telling me to trust him. The only problem I have with simulation theory is convincing the guy with a firecracker in his ass. No, that's not a firecracker. That's the whole point, Miyagi. It's just a simulation. If it was a firecracker, you'd actually blow your asshole up, you know. Okay. All right, you got me. I do trust you. Now that you've set that straight, I see you're onto something. You take the four corners of your computer, and you press simultaneously. It's like a flatliner. Then you pull the plug. No, this is the thing. If it's a simulation of what? It's a stupid point to make because you have no concept of what it's simulating other than you're saying this is a reflection of something that's authentic that I have no perspective of other than the reflection I'm looking at. So I'm assuming this is not the real thing because the other real thing is just projecting this. I don't see that we have any reason to believe it's a simulation. The idea of a projection would make more sense, but it doesn't seem to be just that. And I can't even say that you could describe it as a projection because from what point of source? From the ether, the field, the energetic signature, the sequence, whatever it is. You know what I'm talking about, the toroidal hyperboloid, the center point, line of demarcation where it all expands out of. It's got the cross in the middle. It's got the sacred geometry, donut spinning in and out of itself. Where does it all project from? There's like a center point, supposedly, in theory, but it doesn't even exist because that's just trying to give you a point of reference to understand what it is, but that's not what it is. That center point doesn't actually exist in a physical sense. It's just a concept so that you can wrap your head around something that does have a predictable sequence that can be observed, but then can also be influenced through thought. So, you know, it's like, even as a projection, which it's not, arguably so, it's still an interactive canvas of inconceivably, I guess, no, that's not correct. Conceivable potential, because it's all conceivable, right? It's all stuff that you conceive in your mind that then you're able to co-create at a certain level with a level of faith. So yeah, but projection, simulation, it's the fabric of reality of this nature that we're observing, which even according to science, is so limited from the visual standpoint that we're just seeing a fractal of what's actually happening. And I mean, the rest of that would be inconceivable, right? They can talk about the 92% that you're not experiencing because you don't have the sensory or the capability So then what is that to you? Unless there is a way to experience it, unless there is an aspect of self that they're hiding or not telling you about, because that part of discovery realizes that the greater part of self is from the formless, which is experiential in the spiritual mind. So maybe the sum is complete within the formless aspect of that equation, and that's what creates that yin and yang, or the completion of those energies. But the greater, the head, not the tail, the Father, not the Son, is the formless, is the part that makes up the molecule, the atom that's inconceivable, that gives it this this whole type of concept that there's some kind of movement happening or space between it all. But there isn't. It's just a concept. It's not actually observably at any level to really be in a state of movement. Maybe vibration. Because it's all music, it's all vibration. But where is it moving to and from? If you don't have a beginning and ending to space and time, then your only frame of reference is something that's impermanent. And so we can look backwards through the hourglass, or through the looking glass, so to speak, to try to see the Creator through the smoked glass lens he gives us, or she gives us, or because I know you all get real gender specific about God nowadays. I think women think they are God, though, these days, I really do. And maybe they are, the dark matter womb, that's where the creation comes through. We got it all wrong, but I don't think that the Almighty is exempt of any of it, right? It encompasses it all. We're connected to it all. We divinely connect into that, or we connect into it through our ignorance. And there's an opportunity there if we'll look at it that way. And there's a lack of opportunity if we look at it that way. That just ends up being what it is. That's a faith thing. We're going to experience that, whether we acknowledge it or not, whether we want to take responsibility for it. It just will play out. We can ignore it. We won't look at it, or we will. And then we can see where to self-correct. And it's just that discipline that is so simple, that empowers us beyond your polluted tea and your ideas of despair, and just how everything is somehow going to be ruined by the robots or the computers. If all that is in the illusion of form, the place of impermanence, and it's all happening experientially, but it's not tied to the identity, at least without a high level of consent, it seems like, then, the gift is yours to lose, really, is what that looks like to me. They want to dupe you into acting as if resistance is futile. They put that message into you a long time ago, that it's assimilate or be assimilated. That's some real shit, They want you to feel helpless in it. Like there's just no answer. There's nothing you can do but just comply to a system that's given you an identity and given you some kind of self-lack concepts that you're supposed to loop on for your whole experience here. And I'm just saying it's not all bad. Like, if they come out with a robot horse, I will be a early adopter. I'll place a pre-order. I'll legitimately saddle up, put the cowboy boots on and the hat, ride on down to the proverbial robot rodeo, and I think there could be some fun things. And it'd be pretty damn safe and convenient. Get back to safe, reliable transportation. Yeah, but the questions and the answers become the distraction. If the vision is seen, the concept is cemented, and it's done with discernment now, it's not done in ignorance, and there's a level of dedication to that, then the questions and the answers just start to become white noise. I mean, it's just a distraction, isn't it? That's why I say we don't need any more information. That's the delusion of all this. It's like we're going to go online and we're going to get some intel. That's the whole lie of self-development, the whole lie of religion, all this kind of shit, is they got something that will complete you. And they'll lie to you the whole way. They'll take your pocketbook. They'll fucking, check your pockets, get on the residual payment for your guilt or whatever it is that you're trying to compensate for, that you think they can absolve you for, and they'll also give you some kind of free pass to move forward. And nobody moves forward. They have the same fucking thing they came with, the same disease. Because they were the only ones that could give themselves that pass. It wasn't going to happen through that dogmatic process. I don't think, anyway. That's my experience. I mean, I understand there's people that do have a different testimony. They will tell you that church type of body and family helped them liberate themselves mentally, and that's great. Again, I said earlier, there's different paths, so I'm not denying them their experience. I felt like it put you in another box. It seemed like it was a lot of different limiting concepts to me again. Because that's what you do, right? When you give man your power, it's going to ultimately corrupt that man. It's just too enticing. You're giving that person too much. You're not supposed to do that. God gave it to you to be a steward of, not to hand over to some hierarchy. Or for God's sakes, to Mother Mary. Like, she's going to pray to God for you. Can you imagine? You're going to pray to a woman to pray to God for you. And I love women. I don't mean to sound negative towards women. I think women are amazing. They're wonderful. They're beautiful. And women are the other half. They're needed as much as the man. Like, men are just as pathetic and desperate as women at this point in a lot of ways. I just like to poke fun at it. And it's easier for me to poke fun at women for whatever reason because, at the end of the day, I think that the idea that women actually are going to run society is a pretty comical concept. I mean, I do think that's a defeatist mentality. That's not the way it's supposed to work. But that doesn't mean that, women are incredibly important to the equation. And it's like, we're going to have to get back to families as a society. It's going to have to be family values, family-oriented type of structures. That's the only way forward for any type of happiness and joy within raising children, all this stuff. We're not going to have happy children being raised by robots. Maybe I'll get proven wrong, though. We'll see. Anyway, I'm out of here, It's like, that'll be the next thing. statistically it's shown that robots raise healthier, happier children, and if you just give your kids over to AI, they'll feed them a better diet and give them. I guess it's all what you consider success, though, right? You got to quantify that.